G'day and welcome back to the channel, Ginger Ninja's Movie Reviews. I am the Ginger Ninja and these are my Trashy Tuesday movie reviews. If you're new to my channel, thank you very much for tuning in, stopping by and checking it out. And if you're wondering what Trashy Tuesdays is, well, what I'm doing is I am looking at the trashiest films that I can find. But don't let that scare you. That does not mean they are bad movies. Trashy films to me have a certain quality about them. These are films from 70s, the 80s, the 90s, even more recent, and they've got a certain quality about them. They usually have a very B-grade feel to them. You know, they're usually a lower budget, and some of them border on, well, trashploitation is probably the best word to describe them. But in this case, we are looking at an action film with Death Warrant. Now, this one came out in 1990 and was directed by Darren Serafin. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that name right. I'm terrible with names. Now, the movie stars Jean Claude Van Damme, Robert Giolami, Cynthia Gibb, and Patrick Kilpatrick. So, we are looking at a Van Damme film from the 90s, which is peak Van Damme, so let's get into it. The plot: in a violent and corrupt prison, decorated cop Louis Burke must infiltrate the jail to find answers to a number of inside murders. What he finds is a struggle of life and death tied to his own past. Yeah, fair enough. Like I mentioned, this film came out in 1990, but Death Warrant sits comfortably in the pantheon of 90s action cinema of gritty crime thrillers where undercover missions, corrupt institutions, and brutal beatdowns were the standard fare. You know, and this film, headlined by a martial arts icon and up-and-coming action movie star, Jean Claude Van Damme, and written by a young David S. Goyer, who would later go on to pen some absolute bangers of action films like Blade, and I think he did Batman Begins as well. The film itself is a pulpy prison potboiler, and it combines this hard-hitting action with a very thin veneer of mystery and corruption and investigation. So, let's get locked up with Death Warrant.
Tuesday's never gonna plan. 80s are in a blood of Dan. VHS takes down midnight fan. Stop by 9 years, leads through the night. Alien wars and a neon fight. Android streaming, cutting freaking light. Trashy Tuesdays, it's a pure delight.
So, kicking it off with the cast, and let's be honest, we're not just kicking it off, we are roundhouse kicking it off with the cast. We've got Jean Claude Van Damme starring as Detective Louis Burke. And look, while his acting is limited, stoic, steely, and occasionally wooden, his physical presence is commanding, especially in the fight scenes, which he brings his A game to. Like, he is most effective in this film in silent, brooding moments, or when he's in the midst of a spinning roundhouse kick, but not so much during the romantic and emotional exchanges. That scene in the trailer, the conjugal visit, yeah. Cynthia Gibb plays the civilian district attorney, or assistant district, I don't know what her actual role is, but she's helping Burke from the outside. And she gives a very sincere performance, but the script reduces her to the occasional damsel in distress and exposition delivery system. Robert Giolami, better known for his more dignified roles, brings some much-needed gravitas and likability as Burke's prison ally, Hawkins. He easily is the most nuanced character in the film, and his chemistry with Van Damme provides a very rare sense of camaraderie. Then we have Patrick Kilpatrick as the psychotic Sandman. He is an absolute highlight, and he's not a deep villain, but his sheer physicality and his intensity in the role lend the film as its most memorable moments. He manages to be both cartoonish and genuinely terrifying. It's a blend that works well in the context of the film. So moving on to the directing and the writing. Darren Serafian, again, hope I'm pronouncing that name right, brings a surprisingly taut visual style to this film. The prison setting is claustrophobic and bleak, and it's got these washed out greys, flickering fluorescent lights, and the heavy iron doors. They reinforce the feeling that no one's getting out of here unscathed. There's a noticeable absence of glamour here. There are steel bars, racial tensions, gang violence, and moral ambiguity. What he does is he wisely doesn't linger too long on exposition. The pacing is brisk, but it is also sometimes too brisk, where it skims over certain plot points and sort of brushes them to the side. But it does keep the tension on a very low simmer throughout the movie. The blend of procedural mystery, prison politics, and high-kicking action keeps the tone from feeling one note. David S. Goya's script is a mashup. And what I mean by that, it's full of familiar tropes. The rogue cop, which Van Damme starts out going rogue a little bit, the corrupt system, the evil warden, and yes, the organ harvesting conspiracy. You can see the seeds of future genre success in the film's attempt to layer a mystery beneath the surface of a straight action film. And unfortunately, the writing feels undercooked in this one. The conspiracy plot is rushed and very vaguely explained that it needed to be done to save, and I won't spoil it, but the original idea was to save one person, but then they realized money could be made, and well, they kept going at it. But it's just brushed to the side at the end to wrap everything up very quickly. So that is a slight detriment to the film itself. But overall, it's a very good storyline. I did enjoy it. But due to that, it kind of loses a couple of points for me. Now moving on to the effects. But instead of the effects, let's look at action sequences, as this is where Death Warrant really earns its stripes. Van Damme is in his prime, and the film wisely builds its choreography around his strengths. Power kicks, acrobatic moves, and lightning-fast reflexes. The fights are gritty, they're brutal, and they're satisfyingly unpolished. There's a physicality to the violence that feels visceral, and every punch lands with a thud. Every kick has weight behind it. There's a standout laundry room fight with everyone's favorite. It's that guy, Al Leong. He was a staple in various action films of the 80s, 90s, and of course, the fight with the final boss between Burke and the Sandman. That, of course, is a standout as well. That last fight doesn't break any new grounds, but it delivers what fans came for. One man, shirtless and bloodied, defeating evil with a flying kick to the face. What more do you want? Moving on to rewatchability. This is not my favorite Jean Claude Van Damme film, but it is an enjoyable one for fans of gritty, pulpy 90s action. So would I rewatch this one? Yes, I would. I am a fan of it. It's just not up there with one that I can just chuck on. It's not Bloodsport or Kickboxer. It's not Universal Soldier. All those ones are fantastic Jean Claude Van Damme films, which I really get a kick out of. This one I still enjoyed, but it's not one that I'm going to watch too often. Final verdict. Death Warrant is a solid slice of 90s action cheese. Grimy, punchy, and full of roundhouse kicks. It doesn't break new ground, but it delivers what it promises. Van Damme in a prison beating the crap out of bad guys. And that's what you want. While the writing and direction fall just that little bit short of greatness, the performances and the rough and ready fight scenes give it staying power among fans of the genre. It's not deep or original, But fans of Van Damme will get enough out of this to keep them entertained and satisfied. And what more could you want? Overall for a score, Death Warrant gets a 6.5 out of 10. And there you have it. That is my review of Death Warrant. Have you seen this one? If you have, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, because I'm keen to hear your thoughts on it. Like I said, I do enjoy this one. I think it's a really well done film. It's nothing new. It's not groundbreaking, but it's just good. That's all. That's all you want out of these films. Like I said, this is a bit trashy. It is a bit low budget, but it's still got that kick to the face that sometimes you just need. Anyway, look, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please do hit that like button. It'd be much appreciated. And of course, if you're enjoying these Trashy Tuesdays, if you're a fan of movies in general, please do hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I do release a new review. I do have my Trashy Tuesdays, of course. I've also got my 60-second reviews here and there. They're usually just movies that I watch during the week. Sometimes they're movies that have just come out and I keep them spoiler-free, because they're new movies. Who wants to hear a spoiler? But I've also got my Franchise Fridays, and I'll be wrapping that up very soon with the current franchise of Aliens, and I'll be moving on to another franchise. So that's going to be a fun one. Got 2 more prison-themed Trashy Tuesdays to go. And boy, one of them is going to be... Honestly, I'm going to struggle through that one, but yeah, you'll see in a couple of weeks. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.
Let's go!